Probably get back on the topic at hand. We will now answer the question now. Who wants to go first?
Jordan.
Jordan, you go first.
Honestly, I've answered this question a bunch of times.
So what's one more?
let me just read over it again to make sure. Linux stories, when you start using it, is it your job? What's the most complex? That's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, when did you start using it? 1999, 2000-ish, I worked at an internet support company, and one of the other guys there, this super cool, didn't go to college guy who was working at an internet service provider, told me about Debian. He said it was the best thing since sliced bread, but I never got a chance to try it. I got to college, my roommate said, dude, try out Slackware, it's the best thing since sliced bread. These people with Linux in their bread, yes. I tried it, it was not.
Slackware is if you want to punish yourself.
Exactly, and that's pretty much what I did. He also gave me a copy of FreeBSD, and again, punched myself in the face a few times. Learned a lot about Xfree86, can't remember all the names of it, but yeah, I got it all working, and once I get into it, it was like, now what? What can I do in this that I can't do in my Windows machine? Because I was in college at the time, I didn't care.
Right.
Eventually moved on to other distros like SUSE and Mandrake at the time, and eventually 2007 came around. Things had changed significantly. I tried Ubuntu in the past, like 2004 when it first came out, but it had improved so much that I was actually able to make the switch 100% to it, and yeah, that's how I got here. Went from Ubuntu to some other distros, did some packaging, not development, for Foresight Linux, and yeah. As far as Linux in the job, I wish. Actually, recently, I had to make a video for work. We could not afford to buy proprietary software to do it like they wanted to. I said, well, I've got free software and Linux that I can do it with, so that was the option. Let's see, James added a question, what is your name? My name is Jordan.
That's a way to show that Sex answers it.
Show that what? Oh, yes.
Show that Sex answers it.
Yeah, actually, that's something I've wanted
it, so I
myself.
wouldn't notice you just answer it based on seeing it.
Okay.
And now the secret's out, so I won't possibly do it. Not true.
How would you describe your level of experience? I would say mid-level to just above mid-level. I'm definitely not what I would consider advanced. I have not done much in terms of server administration. I've done a little bit in terms of bash scripting, Python stuff, of course, and I've compiled a kernel. Yeah, that was actually a later question. I did the full Gentoo install, so I've custom compiled a kernel. I just didn't really care for that. Yeah, most complex thing was probably doing the full Gentoo stage 3 install for me.
Nice.
Alright,
And doing it in less than a full day.
Okay, I guess I'm next. Yeah, I know what you're talking about there. That's why I haven't punished myself in that way yet. I'm actually...
Sorry to interrupt. Somebody actually asked me today, Dreamgiver on YouTube, said, so are you going to do a Gentoo install tutorial?
Did you do one a little bit though?
No, I did a review. I'm doing an Arch install tutorial right now.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry about that. Continue.
Yeah, no, review's different than tutorial, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, mine's similar to Jordan's, but not that different. Back, late 90s, 98, 99, bought a used laptop. It was running 98ME. What is it? SE, sorry, second edition. But might as well have been ME, whatever. This machine ran horribly with 98. It ran better with XP. A lot of people kept recommending I install Linux on it. I went and looked at a bunch of Linux distros. I downloaded the 3-disc version of Madriva. Excuse me, it was Mandrake at that point. It shortly after it became Madriva. And I screwed around with it. This was back in the days when Linux was painful. It was the beginning of the GUI stuff beginning to really get developed. Little things like configuring my TCP connection had to be done entirely manually. I saw a lot of useful stuff. There were a lot of good open source games included. Overall, the UI had many of the things I would have wanted and sought. I did not feel like torturing myself for my computer. So, waited a little bit, Shortly thereafter, towards a few years later, XP came out, upgraded the thing to XP. Kept an eye on Linux over the years. I started getting into web design and other stuff, since that was one of the few things people would pay an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old for, where they didn't really care how much experience you had, just that you could do stuff. If you know, like I had, of course, most servers were running stuff like that, so I started getting used to it. I honestly got tired of the endless problems that come with the file naming system in Windows will not support, is not case sensitive, so that you cannot have upper lowercase things, yada yada yada, because inevitably I had to back things up from a Unix or Linux web server in which multiple things had the same file name, and there was no way in hell I could copy that down to a Windows system. Around 06 is when I started to get back into the user system environment. I finally found one I could live with. Realistically, though, it was late 07, early 08 when it caught up to the point that I could actually throw Windows out of my house and, for the most part, live in a Linux world. There's still some things I have to go back to Windows, just because some client wants me to design something for some piece of software that is Windows only, and I'm not going to tell them to redo their Office. That being said, Linux has become my favorite tool in the world when I'm working with a client who wants to do everything on the cheap. So the exact same problem you had. It's like, we want to do this and we want to do it free and we don't want to pay for anything. I'm like, you need a Linux box in the kernel. Even if it's not your primary system, you need a Linux box over there. Oh, is it going to be hard? It's the thing. So it's like some of them don't even notice. So I guess that sums me up. What about you, James?
Okay. And have you ever compiled a custom kernel?
Oh, yeah, I left that out. The closest I've ever done to compiling a custom kernel has been compiling a KDE kernel. Okay, I've said this wrong. Not KDE. Shoot, I forgot the name. KPE, for taking advantage of more memory.
PXE?
PXE, thank you. Yes, thank you. Wrong word. Late night, been up all day. But no, I haven't. I want to. I actually want to sit down and do Linux from scratch one of these days when I have the time and I have a spare system that I can dedicate solely to screwing around with that, so I really fully understand Linux inside and out. I haven't had the time or inclination to fully do that yet, but it is on my to-do list, because I do want to actually, at some insane point, start doing Linux development. I'm not going to be happy just doing mobile development. I'd like to do the same type of development I do for web for Linux.
So, is it my turn?
I guess.
Alright.
Said the
I
third
started
monkey.
using Linux. Well, first started, I think, a little bit before 2 years ago. I just got Vista on my new computer, and everything, it was slowing down. It was crashing, and the computer was almost breaking. And I was looking around. I don't know how I found out about it. I can't recall exactly. But the first Linux distro that I actually tried was DSL, Damn Small Linux. And
very useful for old systems, but I'm not sure I'd recommend it for end users.
So what I did was you could actually download a link of this on the site, where it runs in its own virtual machine automatically. You just click one link and it'll just open up in its own virtual machine. And I saw the movie Hackers, and I liked all that stuff, and I was, I really liked computer stuff. Even though, it's I'm not that good at all of it, but anyway, I saw it and I thought it looked really cool, and I just thought it looked really techy. So I decided to try it on my computer, and I actually chose Ubuntu to try first on my computer, and this was I think 9.04 that I tried. That was Jaunty Jackalope, and I put this on my computer. I tried to install it because I heard about dual booting, so I could install it without messing with my Vista partition. And this was before Ubuntu automatically partitioned. This was before Ubuntu automatically recognized that you had Windows on your computer
Yeah,
and
we'll do a
automatically
partition.
give you the option to install side by side.
Right.
And so when I clicked install, I ended up erasing my entire Vista partition.
Hope you had a
which
backup.
I did not back it up. That had a bunch of data on it, including some of my parents' data as well.
So wait a minute. I want to understand this for a moment. Your first real Linux experience was erasing your computer,
Yes.
and you're still with us?
Well, no, after this experience, I didn't like Linux very much, actually. I got yelled at. I erased it. I put it back on. I took it off the computer. I reinstalled Vista. I got it working, and I really didn't use Linux anymore for a long time. And the thing that got me back into it was actually Puppy Linux. And I found out about this thing, and it talks about, because I didn't actually know about a live CD. Even though you could have a DSL as live CD, I didn't know about live CDs at the time. So the first live CD that I actually tried was Puppy, and Puppy is actually not that hard. It's an easy distro, and I like the idea because does not touch your hard drive sounded really good for me because I deleted my whole hard drive. So I tried Puppy, and I liked it a lot. I just, I eventually decided to try installing Linux again. And it was nice for me because now Ubuntu was 9.10, and they finally added the feature where it will automatically give you the option to install side by side, and it worked. And I started using that more and more. Before this, for about a few months before I actually decided on 9.10, I tried a bunch of different things. I tried Fedora, FreeBSD. I searched the internet for every single distro. I couldn't get most of them. The only ones that I even understood a little bit were Ubuntu, Puppy, and DSL. The other ones were just way over my head. So, I really stayed in Windows mainly for gaming and used Linux a little bit. But the thing that really started keeping me fully in Linux was when I discovered Tremulous, which is a very fun Linux game. And now I pretty much fully use Linux. I use Mint now, which is a very